Happy Thursday, welcome to Back of the Net. This is the opposition preview show where every Thursday we chat to a fan of the team we're about to meet. And heads up, today it's with a Liverpool fan. Will they be gloating? We hope not. Look, we beat them on our turf. They just happened to score goals past us. I don't want to say that number. At some point in the interview, I might have to. We'll get him on very shortly. But firstly, just want to say thank you so much for all the support we had for the launch of our new YouTube show live on a Wednesday after every home game, so long as there's not a midweek game. The Panel. And it's a chance for Bournemouth fans to sink their teeth into the media, the press, the social media, basically anyone that's got an opinion on AFC Bournemouth that's probably wrong. And let's face it, the narrative is often very different to the truth. So we can combat that narrative and relay the truth to Bournemouth fans, the wider football world. And we loved getting our teeth sunk into that, I've got to say. Really love the comments. Thank you so much. Will Liverpool be laying a glow on us on Saturday? I hope not. But I tell you what, we've got an optimism as Bournemouth fans, haven't we now? But going to Liverpool, based on what happened last time, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. So to talk about it, we've got John Gibbons here from the Anfield Wrap, the excellent podcast, YouTube channel, website, app. They've got pretty much everything. John, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
So, brand new season, new hope, new stand at Anfield. There's a lot going on and off the pitch, isn't there? Do you think this season, though, is another one that you can call transitional? I mean, is this a season where you're looking at going for the title, or is this just a case of trying to cement top four this season?
Yeah, it's a really good question because, you know, it does feel like a genuinely transitional season rather than last year, which just sort of ended up accidentally, you know, being one. I think last year they started to make some changes. They've been changing the forward line quite gradually, and you know, you look at it now, and the forwards that we had even a couple of years ago, so many of them have moved on, and so many of them have come in, and it's only really Mo Salah who's sort of last man standing, if you like. The midfield, they decided to try and eke one more year out of, which sort of failed spectacularly, unfortunately. I mean, they were a bit unfortunate in that everyone's legs seemed to fall off at exactly the same time, which is quite rare. But it certainly happened, and so that didn't work, and so you know what I guess, you know, ideally would have been a transition over time ended up being a bit of a revolution. Bloody or bloodless, I'll let you use the side, overnight, where so many have gone, you sort of lose count. Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, and then people like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, James Milner's gone to Brighton. Naby Keita has gone back to Germany, so that's sort of 5 out, 6 if you count Arvin Mello, which you probably shouldn't, because he sort of barely played. But then they've got a couple in. There's another the Japanese captain looking to maybe sign today, which is a bit of a bolt out of the blue. And then they'll probably look to do one more as well, and hope to get some minutes for the good young midfielders that we have too. And so it all, because the middle of the park's been ripped out and renovated. It's really hard to judge sort of what Liverpool's level will be. And we went into that Chelsea game with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. In a funny way, it sort of didn't answer any questions really. You know, we were good going forward, but a little bit shaky at the back, which is to be expected. I think it proved that, you know, there was real doomsdayers. I mean, every supporter base has got them, haven't they? You go from the you know, the glass is always full, kind of everything's going to be brilliant, you know, fans that all clubs have, and then there's the world's going to end tomorrow, the sky's falling in, and then most of us sort of fit somewhere in between. But the ones who were sort of, you know, seriously concerned, you know, we were going to get ripped apart and beat sort of 4 and 5, you know, there was proof that that's not the case. There, you know, there are still lots of good footballers at Liverpool Football Club who knew it, and you know, things, you know, will be fine. It's just how fine is what is sort of up for grabs. So we're still learning, but that's pretty much the case for everyone, I think, and I'm sure there's an element to that for you guys as well.
Just one shot on target though against Chelsea. Does that worry you?
I mean, they're quite good as well, I'd say, Chelsea, and they got into the game well. I think, I, I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world to sort of to go 1-0 up and then try and hold it a little bit. And I think they played it a little bit like a European away game. I'd like to have seen them showing a little bit more at the end. I thought Liverpool were really good for the first 25 minutes. And, you say one shot target, obviously they had one disallowed for just offside, they hit the bar. And so they did, they were having a go in that period. And then Chelsea got back on top, which can happen. And then Chelsea looked a bit sort of spent on about 70. And I thought if Liverpool had a bit more confidence then, and we brought some lads off the bench who brought energy, but not necessarily, tons of sort of guile and goal scoring threat. And I think it was that period where I would have liked to have seen, I think a better team might have snatched it. I guess is what I would say, or a more confident team, would have snatched it in that period. But no, I'm not looking too much into it either side that first game.
When I was watching it, it is clear that there were two sides that are in desperate need of a holding midfielder, because it was a bit of a harem-scarem match at times. And look, Chelsea have got Caicedo now, Lavia, both names that were linked with Liverpool. You're trying to rebuild the side. And, from the outside, you look on social media and there are some Liverpool fans blaming FSG, some say it's Klopp, some say it's the CEO, Billy Hogan, some people talking about the recruitment team not being good enough. Are Liverpool a club with issues, or is that an over-exaggeration?
No, I think there's... You look at Liverpool 3 years ago, and it was a really well-run club, and on and off the pitch, there was a lot to sort of be admired about it by any fan, and other people used to write those things about Liverpool. It wasn't just us. Of course, when you're European and world champions, everything looks fantastic, doesn't it? And then when you start losing, people start pointing fingers. So there's maybe a little bit of that. So it probably wasn't ever as perfect as what was made out, is what I said. And right now, it's probably not quite as bad as maybe people think. There's not, I'm sure, running battles if you go to, the training ground and things like that. But what I would say was, is that the old structure seems to have gone away, and the idea of a strong sporting director who can stand up to the manager when need be, but also is able to deliver to him what he wants in terms of qualities on the pitch that he is after. Someone like that working with a really sort of strong team. There was quite a few exits over the last 2 or 3 years, sort of off the pitch in sort of key footballing positions that I wouldn't necessarily read huge amount into, because I think they're all sort of individual, decisions and sort of things like that. But has had a bit of a knock-on effect in terms of how well the club is running. And you just see it in terms of our transfer windows. 2-3 years ago, it was. You'd see us identify our targets. We'd go out to try and get them. Some of them would take a bit longer than others. But generally, by the start of the season, we had the squad that we were going to go for the rest of the season. Last 2 summer windows in particular have been a bit of a farce, really. And this one, you mentioned the Caicedo and Lavia stuff. It all just sort of looks a bit messy. And listen, with football teams, the proof is on the pitch, isn't it? You can get yourself wound up about windows and who's buying who and why aren't we in for this player? But at the end of the day, you can't buy everyone, and you only need so many players, and we'll see what happens on the pitch. But before the football did come back as it did sort of at the weekend, that's sort of all you have and all you sort of left with. And so it ends up kind of becoming the all important. So I think you've just got to hope that if it's by luck rather than design, that we end up with the squad that we need, the balance of the squad that we need sort of going into next season. And if they can do that, then there is the quality there to challenge for the title. But in the very winded way of answering your question, I think most Liverpool fans would take a return to top four sort of this season, and then look to build from there.
You've been linked with a few players like Doucouré, Amrabat, Paulinia, Thuram, but it looks like Wataru Endo's gonna happen. Does it frustrate you that the window closes like 3-4 games into the season? Because it feels like for us, like we're just waiting to start the season at the start of September because we know that we need new players. It seems like you're the same. Like for many teams, the first 3 or 4 games is almost a write-off.
Yeah, it is odd, isn't it? And I think for selling clubs as well, it must be sort of frustrating, really, because you're like, we need sort of answers. Is someone going to pay what we want for this player or not? Because we're you've seen on the opening window there was a few teams. You look at Fulham, they've got Mitrovic on the bench because they don't necessarily know what's going on with him yet and stuff like that. And their season started. I mean, they're going to win at Everton, so they're fine. But if they'd have drawn 0-0 and needed a goal, but the best strikers on the bench, it sort of is a bit of a farce, really. And so they could do with finding a solution for it, I think, a little bit. But the problem is to try and sync it with, it's a European one, isn't it? The transfer window, They try to sync all ones together, so it's not just as easy as the Premier League saying, well, we're going to have this, because if it's different to different countries, then it sort of falls down. But it does feel like, in a funny way, like everyone's sort of treading water a little bit in these first games, and then like the season starts proper 1st of September. But you could have 9 points or none by that point. It's it's a crazy situation.
John, do you like the way I've gone through this whole chat without mentioning the number 9 yet? But I'm going to have to right now. I'm going to reference what happened last season. Obviously, it was a terrible day, a horrible day. We always seem to play you at home, though, when your team needs a reaction of some kind. And it feels like that a little bit again. You must be licking your lips ahead of the game.
Not quite licking our lips, because, like I say, you're still not quite sure where your team is at, and so I think it could be a tricky one, for us. And I didn't see much of your game at the weekend. I've only seen the goals, but a few people who know a little bit more about football than I do were saying, "Oh, it's really interesting what Bournemouth are doing. That the manager got the way he's going to play," and I think you will have a bit of a go at us. And I think in the past that's helped Liverpool. 100%. Like, we've wanted teams to come to Anfield and have a bit of a go. But at the moment, because we're a little bit fragile, like, there's if you have a bit of a go and sort of breaks for you when you go 1-0 up, or we're sort of caught napping, or however, when goals happen, you've watched football. If you guys go 1-0 up, then, as I say, if 3 or 4 years ago, we'd have just shrugged our shoulders and gone on with it and still backed ourselves to win. Whereas now, the crowd's likely to get a bit more edgy in those situations. There's maybe new players. There'll be at least 2 sort of pretty new signings on the pitch who won't necessarily have been through these sorts of situations before in a red shirt anyway. And so I think, I am a little bit more nervy about it. This game than maybe normally it would be. That's not to say that I don't think we'll win, because I always back us at home. But I think at the same time, you mentioned there that you always seem to get us at a bad time. Well, we'll see on that. It might not be the worst time. It might not be the worst time in the world to be playing Liverpool on this occasion.
Just a quick one then. I mean, hopefully your team will be ready. Is the stand ready? Is the Anfield Road end ready?
The new development isn't, so there'll be people in the stand. So your fans will be in that stand. So the lower tiers done, but the lower tier was pretty much what already existed. The upper tier isn't finished. There was news literally this morning that the company who's doing it has got into administration, which is a massive worry. And you wonder where that sort of leaves the club and everyone. So it doesn't really. It does have a massive effect in terms of so the attendances will be pretty similar to last season. So it's not a massive negative from that point of view, and obviously for the team, they won't sort of notice any different. It's just a bit of a shame because we were all looking forward to it. Also, they've sold an extra couple of thousand season tickets on the back of thinking that they'd have this extra space, so they split it between season ticket holders and some corporate tickets, which is always the way. Then the rest were going to be general sale. Now, those 2,000 season tickets that have been sold have to be now housed elsewhere in the ground. So it means that there's less general admission tickets on sale. And so lots of people who normally manage to get tickets through this way are sort of struggling for it, really. And so those are the real life knock-on effects. So the more sort of personal ones, really, than they are, negatives for the team.
Brilliant. All right, we'll end with I hate doing this. Prediction. Go on then. What are you going for?
I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling positive. I'm going to go for 4-1 Liverpool, but it is tougher to do these earlier in the season than later.
John from the Anfield Wrap, really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
Top man.